I only bring you the best. So today I'm bringing you the best breathwork expert, a guy who I consider what I'd like to call my brother from another mother. This guy is absolutely amazing. He's smart. He's brilliant. He's cool, calm, and collected. Every time I have a conversation with him, it enables me to feel even more in a meditative state, right? That's the kind of individual that Sachin Patel is, and we're going to be getting into some awesome information today. But before we do, I want to make a few announcements that are so very critical and crucial and helpful for you. First of all, we're bringing back the amazing full body fix. Yes, we're bringing back the full body fix. It's going, many of you already know that. You're probably registered. You probably, if you're really on the ball, you will have your seats confirmed. Now, if you don't have your seats confirmed yet for the full body fix, space is limited. So you're going to want to go ahead and do that right now. Patricia will drop the link in the chat. You'll see the link in the chat right now. Within the next minute, you'll see the link for confirming your seats for the full body fix, which will go from your toe to head, right? Normally you hear it head to toe, but the way body mechanics work, starting from your big toe, going up through your body, we're going to teach you how to optimize your mechanics, because that's where the root of getting fitness results comes from, is your body mechanics. So we'll teach you how to become younger, literally become mechanically. Not only can you become physiologically younger, you can become biomechanically younger as well. So we'll be teaching you exactly how to do that. It's absolutely amazing. Those who have attended before give us raving reviews. So I suggest, and it's free. So in this show, our full body fix coaching show is a show that we bring to you most Saturdays. And we do have both attendees in our show, and we also have VIPs. Now, our VIPs are part of our VIP mastermind. And those individuals get the benefit of having the world's best anti-aging experts train them live online from the comfort of their own home and interactive. We record videos of them. We send them details of how to optimize their body movement. It's absolutely amazing. If you want to become a VIP, I suggest you come to the full body fix, and you'll learn amazing information. We'll give you amazing value. And at the very end of it, after we give you a ton of value, then you'll learn about how you could become a VIP. So I'm very grateful to have you with us today and sharing this experience. A little more about Dr. Sachin Patel before we get started. So he's a pretty amazing guy. Okay. He both has a what's called the Living Proof Institute. Okay. And that helps people optimize their health in terms of understanding the right way to approach nutrition and lifestyle and all the things that actually really make a difference in life. He brings the very best to his members in the Living Proof Institute. Okay. And then he also has a coaching program for those who want to become functional medicine practitioners. Okay. And become more successful in business and any area of health and fitness types of fields. He's amazing at that as well. So he both teaches those to optimize health and the experts of how to help others optimize their health. So he's an amazing individual that believes the doctor of the future is actually the patient, right? Because the way that he looks at it is, if you understand all these things, then you can make such better decisions for your health and your fitness and everything that goes on. So he wants to empower you with that. And he does an amazing job at that. He's a very good friend of mine who I'm very grateful to have in my life. And now I'd like to turn it over to him and welcome you, Dr. Sachin, to our show today.
Well, thank you, Robbie. And thank you, Patricia, for hosting this presentation, and also for the amazing work that you do. You've both made a very lasting impact in my life and my wife's life, and I'm forever grateful. So I'm hoping to pay it forward today and educate your community members on a topic that I feel is, well, it's relevant to all of us, whether we like it or not. We're all going to breathe, and some of us will breathe correctly. Some of us will breathe incorrectly. And I hope that after today's presentation, all of us will be breathing more effectively. So one of the things I tell my clients is that if you want to feel better in 30 days, learn how to change your diet, or change your diet. If you want to feel better in a week, drink more water. If you want to feel better in an hour, exercise. If you want to feel better in 5 minutes, breathe correctly. So I'm going to give you some tools today that are going to teach you how to breathe correctly. And the mechanics of breathing are going to translate also into the exercise and the training that you do with Robbie. And it's going to make such a profound difference in your overall health. We breathe when we're awake and we breathe while we're sleeping. So the benefits of what you're going to learn today really translate into a 24-hour benefit to your body. So let me pull up my slides here. And one of the first things I want to do is I want to start with a really simple exercise. And this is something that you can do at any given time. I like to set the tone with a little bit of music. So I'm just going to play a little bit of gentle music here as we get situated and set up for today's presentation. I'm going to speak fast, so you're going to need to listen fast. Make sure you have your notepad handy. I believe, Robbie, they're going to get a recording of today's presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, that's absolutely.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go even faster now that I know you're going to get a recording. So keep up with me and have fun. Okay. So the cool thing about today is we're going to have some fun. We're going to enjoy this presentation and we're going to be able to practically apply it. In the famous words of Ram Dass, be here now. You've said no to a million other things that you could be doing, and you've decided to be here with us today. So be here, be in this moment, be present. I might say one thing that could change the rest of your life. I might say 100 things that could change the rest of your life. And I want you to be open and receptive to that possibility. Okay. All right. Now let's reset. One of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to use something called a physiologic sigh. A physiologic sigh is a way of breathing that allows us to reset our nervous system. And it sends a message to our body that we want to shift from a stress state into a relaxed state. It's really simple. I'll talk you through it and then we'll do it together. So what you'll do is you'll take a deep breath in through your nose, and then you'll take a sharp inhale at the very top. So we're going to completely fill our lungs, and then you're going to let it out with a sigh. Okay. When you let it out with a sigh, what's going to happen is it's going to tell your body to just go into a nice relaxed state. Sometimes we do this without knowing we're actually doing it, but we're going to do this with awareness for a total of 3 times. Okay. So let's take a deep breath in through the nose. Sharp inhale. Let it out with a sigh. All the way out. Empty your lungs. We'll do that again. Take a deep breath in. Sharp inhale. Hold. And then let it out with a sigh. One more. Deep inhale through the nose. Sharp inhale at the top. Hold. And let it out with a sigh. All the way out. Empty those lungs. Okay, amazing. That's the end of the presentation. No, just kidding. Okay. So this is a great thing that you can do at any time. We don't want to abuse this, right? So this is actually physiologically a very powerful tool to shift your state. How many of you felt even just a little bit more relaxed after doing that? I know I did. I was like, wow, I could end now and this could change your life. Okay. But we're going to keep going because there's lots to learn today. Next thing I want to do is I want to shift our focus onto gratitude. Gratitude is an attitude, as we all know. And gratitude is something that's important for us to shift our state of physiology. So the thing that's really cool about breathing is that breathing shifts our state of physiology. I can choose where I send blood flow in my body based on how I'm breathing. In fact, you'll learn today, I can change where I send blood flow in my brain based on how I'm breathing. You'll also learn how to change your breathing to increase the temperature in your fingers and toes. How many of you ever feel cold or you feel coldness in your hands? Well, that's a microcirculatory problem, and I'm going to show you how to change that. So there's ways that we can use breath to change how we feel, to change how we think, to change, alter our states of consciousness. You can actually use breathing for that. And there's a whole exercise that I do for that, which we won't be able to do today because it's about 75 minutes long. But that's another powerful thing that you can do with breathing. I can also change where I send blood flow and what organs I send blood flow to. So breathing is a powerful, powerful tool that most of us have never really heard of. In fact, I'm trained as a chiropractor. I'm also trained as a functional medicine practitioner. I've trained hundreds of practitioners, and nowhere along that curriculum did I learn how to breathe correctly. My story with breath work actually starts about 3 years ago when I went to a Wim Hof training, and a friend of mine asked me to go with him. And he said, "Hey, will you come to this training with me?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, let's go." And he said, "Bring your swim trunks." And it was like middle of February. I'm like, "Are we going swimming?" He's like, "No, we're going to do some breathing, and then we're going to go into a cold plunge." So here we are. We get to this yoga center in Bolton, Ontario, in the middle of winter. It was in February. So it's about 4 years ago now. And we essentially get there, and there's this like kiddie pool outside filled with ice cubes and ice bags. And we walk into the place, we did some Wim Hof breathing. And then afterwards, we got into our bathing suits and gathered around this tiny little pool. It's so funny to even talk about it. And we, one at a time, we jumped into the pool. And then after that, we had to get out, and using our breath, we had to stay warm and dry ourselves off. So no towels. We were soaking wet in the middle of the cold in winter in Ontario and had to dry ourselves off. And it was one of the most exhilarating experiences of my life. So we are so capable of amazing things when we know how to use our body as this wonderful tool. All right. So what are you grateful for? Go ahead and type into the chat what you're most grateful for. One of the things that I learned from Steve Harvey, of all people, is that think of gratitude in this light. Imagine only the things you are grateful for today showed up in your life tomorrow. Imagine you woke up tomorrow and only the things that you were grateful for today were part of your life. Okay, so what are you grateful for? It could be your family, it could be your home, it could be this opportunity to learn today, it could be your beautiful body, it could be a relationship with your maker. What is something that you're grateful for? And feel free to list all those things that you're grateful for. And we always want to start each day with this. With the first conscious breath that we take in the morning, we want to inhale gratitude and we want to exhale the things that are not serving us. Okay. So as you learned, my name is Sachin, and this is my beautiful family. My son, Devin, who's now 11, is there in the middle. And that's my lovely wife, Deepa. We're both clients, and we work with Robbie and Patricia as part of getting our health journey maximized. So we're big believers in, treating our bodies like a temple. And if that's the case for you, you're in the right place. I won't spend too much time talking about me because our time is limited, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on me. All right. Did you know what the number one cause of cavities is? Any guesses? Who knows what the number one cause of cavities is? Might not be what you think. All right. So I see sugar. Most people think sugar. Roxanne got it right. The number one cause of cavities is actually mouth breathing. So believe it or not, when we breathe through our mouth, we actually alter the physiology and chemistry of our mouth, which allows for certain types of bacteria to grow, which leads to dental caries. So yes, sugar can contribute, but what precipitates into cavities is actually breathing through the mouth. All right, question number 2. Do you know what the strongest muscle in the body is? This is a great question for all of us who are in the fitness world, because most people, in fact, including myself, would get this wrong. All right. I see some of these coming in. All right, that's right. The strongest muscle in the body, pound for pound, is the tongue. Okay, so your tongue is a powerful muscle. Your tongue has many different purposes. One of them is to taste food. Another one is for it to help move food around in our mouth when we're eating. Another one is to help us articulate and have a conversation. And another function of your tongue, which many people don't realize, is that it's actually a postural muscle. So having your tongue in the right position actually helps create healthy posture. We can't forget this important muscle, and you'll see in a moment why it's important. But before we go any further, I want you to learn how to correctly position your tongue in your mouth so that you can have excellent oral posture. So simple. You're going to put your tongue gently in the roof of your mouth with the tip of your tongue, the front of your tongue, gently against the back of your front teeth. So your tongue, 3/4 of your tongue is along the top of your mouth, and your teeth, and your tongue is touching the back of your front teeth. That's normal oral tongue posture. Okay. So this is important to know because this is something where we could always check in. So I do a quick body scan. I call it the 10-second body scan. The first thing I do is I ask myself, is my tongue in the right position? If my tongue is in the right position, then there's a cascade of effects that takes place after that. So number one is my tongue in the right position? Number two is, am I breathing through my nose? Breathing through your nose versus breathing through your mouth is extremely important. Think of your nose like an intake. Think of your mouth like an exhaust. As much as possible, we want to breathe through our nose. If we do have to breathe through our mouth, then it's to breathe out and not to breathe in. And you'll learn why in a few minutes here. Okay. Do you know what the greatest predictor of lifespan is? Any guesses as to what the greatest predictor of lifespan is? All right. The greatest predictor of lifespan, according to the Framingham study, is lung capacity. So how much air your lungs can inhale and exhale is actually the greatest predictor of your lifespan. So can you see why simple changes and a simple level of awareness can reduce dental caries? And we know oral health is important to heart health and overall general wellness. We know if you're going to live to 120 like Robbie is, or maybe even 150 like Robbie and Patricia are, you're going to need all your teeth. Can't have them falling out of your face, right? So if we breathe through our nose, we're going to guarantee better oral health. I gratefully, without even knowing it, I was naturally a nasal breather. I don't have any cavities. And so on the other hand, my wife was a mouth breather her whole life. And despite probably taking better care of her dental health growing up, like brushing her teeth and flossing and doing all those things, she had tons of cavities. And it wasn't until we realized that she was a mouth breather that we realized why that was the case. And now she is not because of that. All right. Do you know what the master override switch is for the autonomic nervous system? No time to wait. It's your breath. So we can actually shift our physiology from a sympathetic state into a parasympathetic state simply by changing the pace at which we breathe. I'm going to give you a simple breathing tool. This is so easy, so simple. Breathe in through your nose, tongue in the right position. We're going to breathe in for 4 seconds. So I'll count you in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. This is called box breathing. Very simple tool. What happens when you do box breathing is as you inhale, you're taking in this fresh air, but holding your breath at the top, exhaling, and then holding at the bottom increases the concentration of something called carbon dioxide. We're all conditioned to think that carbon dioxide is a bad molecule, right? Because it warms the earth. You know, thankfully we have trees that breathe in that carbon dioxide and turn it into oxygen for us. However, carbon dioxide is what helps us oxygenate our cells. If I want to increase the amount of oxygen in my tissues, do you think I need more oxygen or do you think I need more carbon dioxide? Any guesses? So let me phrase it again. If I wanted to increase as much as possible, how much carbon dioxide or how much oxygen is being unleashed at the cells, which is where oxygen is actually utilized, would I breathe faster? Would I try to breathe in more air? Or would I breathe slower and hold my exhales longer? What do you think? It's actually a very, very interesting paradox. The more carbon dioxide we have in our bloodstream, the more oxygen we release to the tissue. So this is why slowing down our exhales will allow us to dump more oxygen. Okay, so breathing in fast, like when you're running, for example, doesn't actually increase oxygenation of our tissues. Breathing slow is what increases oxygenation at the tissue level, especially the exhale. Okay. When you talk to fitness experts and when you talk to people who study physiology, they know this. It's called the Bohr's effect. Okay. Your physiological and physical capacity is actually limited by your ability to deliver oxygen to the tissue. Okay. It's not limited by your strength. It's not limited by your flexibility. It's limited by your ability to deliver oxygen to the tissue, which is limited and governed by your ability to breathe. So when you're exercising, when you're doing, your routine, most trainers will tell you, stop training when your form breaks down. But what we're learning now is that you stop or limit your training or back off your training when your breathing breaks down. So you always want to pay attention to your breath. Your breath is your upper limit for your physiological capacity. All right. Do you know what organ in your body generates the most amount of nitric oxide? And everyone might be wondering, what is nitric oxide? Nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules ever discovered. In fact, the person who discovered and researched nitric oxide won a Nobel Prize for it. Nitric oxide helps us dilate our blood vessels, but what nitric oxide also does is it kills viruses. And we've all heard of this elusive virus that's going around. And one of the cures to kill it is something our body has made all along, which is nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is made in our noses. Our nose produces nitric oxide when we breathe through our nose. I'm going to show you a breathing technique a little bit later that helps you increase nitric oxide production by 1,500%. So you can create a natural defense mechanism against any virus, any bacteria that enters into your body by simply breathing through your nose. The dirtiest part of your body is your mouth. And so breathing through your mouth is very catastrophic to your overall health because you're breathing in all this bacteria that you wouldn't be if you're breathing in through your nose. So I'll show you a technique a little bit later. And do you know why the number 1 and 2 killers are heart disease and cancer? Still, it's because we don't breathe properly. And I'm going to show you unequivocally why that's the case and what you can do about it. All right. As Robbie mentioned, I believe that the doctor of the future is the patient. There are so many things that nobody has ever taught you to amplify and unleash your own inner healing capacity. Now you might be wondering, Sachin, why do people stay sick? If they're the doctor of the future, if their body's so amazing, why is it that people stay sick? So check this out. You might not be able to see this. I'll just read you some interesting facts from here. So in your body, you replace the lining of your gastrointestinal tract every 2 to 4 days. The entire lining of your digestive system gets replaced. The cells get replaced every 2 to 4 days. So twice a week, you have a new lining of your digestive system. Your lungs, the alveoli, where all this oxygen and carbon dioxide and gaseous exchange takes place, every 8 days, you get new alveoli. Every 8 days. So within a week, you can experience amazing healing and regeneration. So you might be wondering, Sachin, well, if that's the case, why don't people get better in such short periods of time? The reason is because they continue to send their body, their cells, the same message. They have the same belief system that I can't get better, that somebody else is going to fix me, that I need to take this pill in order to fix me. My body is broken. If you don't change that message, you will never tap into your healing ability. Your cells are eavesdropping on every thought that you have, and they're responding to every thought that you have. Okay. All right. So let's teach you how to breathe right. First thing we talked about is oral posture. So you can see, this is a sagittal view of the head. You can see how your tongue is positioned. And it's such an interesting, fascinating muscle. You can see where it attaches. It attaches to the bottom of your jaw here, believe it or not. And then it sits in your head like this. When we put our tongue in the correct position, you'll see that we want the tongue to be along the hard palate. Okay. And what this does when we put our tongue in the right position, it seals the mouth. So now there's no air going in and out of the mouth. The air is going in and out of the nose. Okay. In and out through the nose. We're bypassing the dirtiest part of our body when we're inhaling, because we don't want this bacteria ending up in our lungs and overstressing our immune system. interesting picture here. When we look at this image of the homunculus is a representation of how many nerves are how many nerves are utilized to innervate different parts of our body. And the bigger the representation, the more nerve endings we have there. So you can see our tongue is just a tiny little part of our body, but you can see how much representation it has, both sensory and motor. And you can see how little our body has. So look at our whole body here has very few nerve endings. Look how big our hands are. Okay. And so you can see in relation to that, how big our tongue is. So there's a lot of sensory and motor information that's communicated through our tongue. Another important part about breathing is jaw formation. So the formation of your jaw will determine how big your sinus passages are. Humans have actually evolved over the last few decades and maybe the last few hundred years to have a different jaw structure. So if you look at Neanderthal skulls, or if you look at the skulls of humans from thousands of years ago, you would see these nice, big, wide jaws. In fact, if you look at skulls from people from thousands of years ago, they never had overcrowding. They never had braces. They didn't need the dental work that people need this day and age. And the reason for that is because they used to eat hard food. They used to spend about 3 to 4 hours a day chewing their food. Imagine that, 3 to 4 hours a day of chewing your food, what that's going to do to strengthen the jaw and widen the jaw and strengthen the teeth. When you see skulls from people, you see all their teeth fully intact. You see completely perfect alignment of their teeth. Look at your pets. Do your pets have perfect teeth? Look at a dolphin. Every animal under the sun has perfect teeth except human beings, because we've changed our diet so much, we don't even chew our food anymore. So think about children from a very young age, they're breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is very important to form the jaw. Secondly, when they start eating, what do we start feeding them? We start feeding them soft and pureed foods. And so their jaw stops working and stops forming. And then what happens when they become young children and adolescents? Their teeth are all crowded together. So you go to a dentist, what does the dentist do? The dentist doesn't say, hey, let's widen this jaw. The dentist says, let's start pulling all these teeth out, which amplifies the problem. And then shortly afterwards, they need braces. The consequence of that is that they have a narrow face. And the consequence of that is they have narrow breathing passages. And those narrow breathing passages lead to mouth breathing. Those narrow breathing passages lead to cavities, which leads to a whole myriad of health issues, including heart disease and a variety of other things. When we breathe through our nose, we actually pressurize the air. We cleanse the air. We temperature regulate the air. Okay. When we breathe through our nose, we actually recapture the moisture that we would normally be losing. In fact, we recapture about 40% of the moisture when we breathe through our nose. So breathing through your mouth actually dehydrates you. So very important. So you can see why this happens. And so if you have young children, before you run out there and get them to pull all their teeth, to compensate for a small jaw structure, fix the jaw structure. That's what we had to do with my son. He had cavities and he didn't eat sugar. So we're like, what are we doing wrong? And we went to 4 different orthodontists and finally got an opinion that made sense to us, which is he has a small jaw. What we need to do is widen his palate. And that's what we did. We widened his palate. Now he's got perfect teeth and he's got a beautiful face. Okay, so you're more attractive to the opposite sex when you have a properly formed jaw, and you're a better breather when you have a properly formed jaw. The way we do this is by actually chewing hard things, chewing fibrous plants, chewing our carrots instead of blending them or juicing them. We might get the same nutrition, but the stimulus to the jaw is totally different. Okay, is this making sense? Okay, so breathing through the mouth, just to clarify here, breathing through the mouth causes dehydration. If you're always feeling dehydrated and you're wondering, I keep drinking all this water, why am I so dehydrated? It's probably because you're breathing through your mouth all the time. Remember, our mouth already has a lot of moisture. It's hard for it to recapture that moisture. All right, so you might be wondering, Sachin, how do I widen my palate if my jaw is already developed and I'm already older. There's something called mewing exercises that you can do. Mewing exercises is where you put your tongue at the roof of your mouth and you spread your tongue, pushing your molars out, pushing all your teeth outwards. And as you're doing that, you're going to put a big smile on your face. So it's kind of weird to do. So I'll do it and then I'll explain it. So it looks like this. So what I'm doing is I have a big smile on my face. I am putting my tongue at the roof of my mouth, spreading my teeth apart as forcefully as I can, and I'm swallowing. This is resetting the reflexive systems and the neurology of the tongue and the swallowing process. Okay. So it's like exaggerated smiling and swallowing. These are mewing exercises. You could do these, while you're on your Zoom calls. You could do this, throughout the day while you're checking your email. It's just a kind of a silly, fun thing to do, but it has a powerful effect. In India, where my parents grew up, my parents have perfect teeth, no cavities, no braces, no such thing as braces. They don't have orthodontists in India when they were growing up. Not an option. Okay. But what they would do every morning, they didn't use toothbrushes. They would chew on a branch. Kind of like your dog chewing on a bone. Have you ever seen a dog chewing on a bone? What do? They chew on it and they pull the bone, don't they? The reason they do that is because it opens up their jaw. It pulls their teeth forward, broadens their jaw, and it's also strengthening their jaw. So they would chew on a branch of a neem tree, and the neem tree, now you can buy toothpaste with neem oil in it, strengthens and builds a healthy oral microbiome. And then they would turn that branch into bristles and then brush their teeth with it. Okay, you can still do this. You can buy these branches. They come individually sealed on Amazon. So if you want to experiment with that, that's something that you can do. And again, most of us, because our food is so processed, because our food is so soft, because our food is so cooked, it weakens our jaw, it weakens our teeth. And then when you turn 60, 70, 80, all your teeth are falling out of your face. And then you've got to eat pureed foods for the rest of your life. So we've got to create. Yep.
Can I interrupt you real quick? There's
sure.
I think a bunch of audience members that wanted to see you a little bit better. So Patricia, can you spotlight Sachin just so they had a little trouble understanding what exactly is this mewing exercise? That's the part they missed, is the physical representation.
Okay, sure. So I'll turn my screen share off, and that might be helpful. Can everyone see me? And you can also Google this too. So there's probably better videos and prettier faces than mine to do this exercise alongside with. But what we're going to do is we're going to put our tongue at the roof of our mouth. Okay. And it should already be there. And we're going to push it hard against the roof of our mouth, and we're going to push it outwards. So up and out. So we're almost pushing against the inside of our top teeth. And as we do that, we're going to put a nice smile on our face and then swallow. Okay, so it feels a little weird doing it, right? It's super awkward for me to do it because there's like 80 people, 90 people watching me. But I want you to practice this. Okay, this will help you spread those teeth apart. Now, there are palatal expanders. If you have a really narrow palate, there are appliances that you can install in your mouth that can be helpful for this, but this is a free, inexpensive way for you to do that. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, you're welcome. Of course. Thanks for reminding me, because I realized that I'm probably really small on everyone's screen. All right. Moving on. Let's go to the diaphragm. The diaphragm translates to the word horizon. The diaphragm separates the lung and the hearts and the abdominal region. If we look at the diaphragm through this cross section here, we see that the heart sits right on top of the diaphragm. And the diaphragm is known as the second heart. About 40% of the pressure that's created for your heart to pump blood through your body is actually created from the diaphragm. So the majority of people that we find who have high blood pressure, which is, by the way, the number one cause of hospitalization comorbidity with COVID, is actually high blood pressure, hypertension. And so what happens is, as the diaphragm moves up and down with each breath, it actually mechanically assists the heart in that pumping process. If we have a weak diaphragm, or we don't breathe correctly, or we have shallow breathing, then the heart has to work harder. I'm going to show you a technique and a way to lower your blood pressure significantly within minutes, okay? Sometimes within seconds, actually, if you breathe correctly. 100% of people can lower their blood pressure by breathing correctly. Now, will that normalize it? There could be other things going on, right? You might be overweight. You might have, obstructions in the arteries, but that doesn't mean we can't lower your blood pressure, okay? Naturally, effectively, safely, by also doing other things. Now, what's also interesting is that your diaphragm is also your master circulatory pump. So we've all heard of lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are where our body collects sewage, right? Our lymphatic system is the sewage system of our body. In our arms and legs, that sewage system is woven into our muscles. It's like it wraps around all of our muscle tissue. In our abdomen, we don't have muscle tissue wrapping around our organs, but we do have lymph wrapping around these organs. Surrounding every cell in your body are three things: a blood vessel, a nerve ending, and a lymphatic vessel to remove the waste that the cell produces. The majority of cancers start in the lymphatic system. The majority of cancers start in the lymphatic system. People don't get finger cancer, right? They don't get wrist cancer. They don't get elbow cancer. They get liver cancer, pancreatic cancer, kidney cancer, ovarian cancer, prostate cancer. Okay, so you might be scratching your head wondering, why does that happen, Sachin? Why do the majority, 80 to 90% of cancers happen in the abdomen? And if the first place for most cancer to show up is in the lymphatic system, it's probably because we're not moving that lymph. So how do we move that lymph? So going back to this image, the biggest lymph nodes in your body are right underneath your diaphragm. So every breath you take is pumping that lymph, moving it out of that organ system and out of the trunk and back into the thoracic duct. Now, I'm not going to get into all the anatomy and physiology of this, but we need to know that when we breathe properly, we essentially create a piston that creates pressure to move that lymph. So when we breathe correctly, we're moving lymph. When we breathe correctly, we're reducing hypertension and we're reducing the load on the heart. So this is how breathing correctly can help reduce our risk for cancer and heart disease simultaneously. Isn't our body amazing? And it can de-stress us, and it can kill viruses and bacteria when we breathe correctly, and it can help us in so many different things that you'll learn in just a minute. All right. This is a pose that you can incorporate that's really easy. It's called a crocodile pose. And all you have to do is lay on your stomach, breathe through your nose, put your tongue in the correct position, and breathe in and out. What this will do is, by laying on your stomach, you're going to have to work against gravity. Now, if this is uncomfortable for you, you have a back issue, or you just can't do it, you're pregnant, of course, don't do this. But if you're laying on your stomach like this, now in order for you to inhale, you have to engage your diaphragm a little bit more. Okay, when we take a deep breath, when we're seated, there's really no resistance. But when we lay on our stomach, now we've got gravity pushing down on our abdomen. And in order for us to take a deep breath in, we have to really work the diaphragm. So it's a great way to strengthen your diaphragm. Okay. Another great way to strengthen your diaphragm is blowing up balloons. Okay. So next time you're having a birthday party, volunteer to blow up the balloons. Or if you just want to have some fun and celebrate life, blow up some balloons. That's a great way to strengthen your diaphragm as well. So laying on your stomach like this with your hands in this position and your feet out like this is called crocodile pose in yoga. And it's a great way to strengthen the diaphragm. All right, nasal breathing. We talked about this very briefly. You've got this beautiful ornate structure here called turbinads. You've got 3 of them. And these turbinads, as you breathe in through your nose, pressurize the air. By pressurizing the air, what's happening is it's allowing your lungs to expand more fully. By allowing that full expansion, we're also allowing better exhalation to take place as well. When we breathe in through our mouth, there's very little resistance. That's why it feels comfortable sometimes when we're running out of breath to start breathing from our mouth, because there's no resistance and it feels like we're getting more air in. However, the deeper breaths occur when we're breathing through the nose because we're pressurizing the air. That's why it feels like we're coming up against resistance when we breathe through our nose, because the air is actually being pressurized. So as I mentioned, we want to breathe through our nose for a few reasons. Increase nitric oxide, increase the killing of viruses and bacteria, cleansing the air mechanically of particulate that would be coming in. We're breathing through a sterile organ versus our dirty mouth. We are also recapturing the moisture that we would normally be losing when we breathe through our mouth. And very importantly, we are temperature regulating the air as well. So there's so many benefits of breathing through our nose that can be beneficial for us that oftentimes most people don't know. Another tool that you can use is something called mouth taping. Who here tapes their mouth at night? Okay, I see Patricia's hand going up. I'm sure Robbie does as well. All right, if you haven't taped your mouth at night, then you can get this tape. It's called 3M micropore tape. Okay, it looks like the picture here. And basically all you need is a small piece of tape. Even with a beard, I can do it. All you need is a small piece of tape about 1 inch long, and you're just gonna tape your mouth like this. You can still talk, you can still breathe through your mouth if you want, but what this is gonna do is it's gonna correctly position your jaw and keep your mouth closed when you're breathing. So as you're breathing at night, you're gonna be able to breathe through your nose without having to think about it. This process, this simple thing eliminated my snoring. I used to snore like crazy. I have a deviated septum. And so at night I would snore, and by mouth taping and not allowing me to breathe through my mouth, it allowed me to breathe through my nose. And your nose is an organ that if you don't use, you lose. If you don't use it, you lose it. So initially it might feel a little restrictive. Give it time, trust the process. And then guess what? Over time, you're going to start noticing that it's much easier. When you start breathing through your nose at night, you start dreaming again. You also stop having to wake up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. And so for so many of us, this could be very dangerous. If we wake up in the middle of the night and we trip and we fall, that could be dangerous, but it's also disruptive to our sleep. Imagine never having to wake up in the middle of the night again to go to the bathroom. And this has to do with something called vasopressin. So I won't get into all those details. Tape your mouth just like it shows here and watch the magic unfold automatically. All right, let's talk about how to increase your nitric oxide production by 1,500%. This is documented in PubMed research, so don't take my word for it. I'll show you some research here in a second. What we're gonna do, really simple. You can do this wherever you want. You can do this while you're driving. You can do this while you're in the shower. You could do it while you're checking email. You could do this while you're out for a walk. It's called buzz breath. So what you'll do is you'll take a nice deep breath in, put your tongue in the correct position, breathe in through the nose, all the way into the bottom of the lungs, fill those lungs up fully as much as you can. And then we're gonna breathe out doing something called a buzz breath. A buzz breath is where we try to vibrate our whole face. It's almost like humming really loud, but we're instead of humming in our throats alone, we're humming in our face. Okay, so I'll demonstrate this. So we're gonna go in, all the way in, all the way in. And for the interest of time, I'm not going to go, it'll take me a minute to fully exhale. You're going to exhale as slowly as you possibly can. Okay. But you're going to let all the air out, all the air out, all the air out as much as you can. You're going to completely empty out your lungs while you're buzzing your face. Your face is going to feel like it's vibrating. Okay. That's what we want to feel. And when you do that about 5 to 10 times, you're going to get an increase in nitric oxide production. Okay. You're doing it with your mouth closed. Thanks for clarifying question. You're doing it with your mouth closed. Okay. So in through the nose. Nice and slow. Okay. And the tip of your tongue is just behind, gently placed against the back of your front teeth. Okay. Now, if you can't feel your face vibrating, then you just need more practice. Okay. It's like the first time you're playing an instrument, right? Imagine playing an instrument for the first time. It doesn't always sound right or feel right. You just got to keep practicing. So that's something you can practice. And certainly the more you do it, the better you get at it. And start in your throat and then really try to get that buzz feeling in your face. Here's some research. Humming greatly increases nitric oxide. So this is, you can, even if you can't do this, you can hum your favorite song. Okay, how about that? How many of us can hum our favorite song? Instead of singing it, you can hum it, and that will increase nitric oxide production. Here's another one. Could nasal nitric oxide help mitigate the severity of COVID? So research is already being done for this, okay? Because our turbinades make nitric oxide. All right, I'm going to give you another simple exercise that you can do. This is called Yogic Coffee, okay? So if you don't like coffee or it's the middle of the afternoon and you want to drink coffee because it keeps you up at night, I know Michael Bruce probably talked about this, right? The effects of caffeine late in the day. How about we naturally increase our energy? So we can use something called Yogic Coffee breath, and it doesn't make your breath stink or anything, right? It's just called Yogic Coffee. And here's what we do. You might see Tony Robbins doing this if you ever go to one of his conferences. He borrowed this from the yogis. He doesn't always tell you that, but it's true. So we're going to start with our hands in this position. I might have to move back a little bit. And we're going to close our fist. And we're going to inhale through our nose, sharp inhale through our nose as we put our arms up in the air. And as we put our arms up in the air, we open up our palms. And then we come down quickly as we do a sharp exhale through our nose, and we close our hands again. So it's going to look like this. Okay, so you're going to do that 30 times. Cleans out the pipe. So you're going to do that 30 times. Forcefully bringing your arms down, of course, within your comfort zone. Not trying to hurt yourself here, right? So as you go up, palms are open. As you come down, palms close, and we exhale sharply through the nose. Okay, so this is going to be a good ab exercise, but it's also going to help energize your body. Okay, so this is called Yogic Coffee. Another breathing technique is called breath of fire. So breath of fire is when we breathe from here to here, okay? Let me see, from here to here. So instead of taking deep inhales and exhales, breath of fire is just between here and here. And this is a great way to energize us as well. So breath of fire looks and sounds like this. Go ahead and try that. Breathe in and out through your nose as fast as you can. Takes a little practice. It's a great exercise though. Okay, let's try that. In and out as fast as you can. All right, so we combine a series of different breathing techniques, buzz breath, breath of fire, and also different cadences of breathing to alter states of consciousness. So we can actually alter people's states of consciousness using breathing. It takes about an hour to do, but you can get the effects of psychedelics and plant medicines by simply using your breathing. Okay, so this is an exercise that I do, and I'll share a training that I did with Robbie, so maybe he wants to share that in the VIP. It's totally mind-blowing. I call the exercise how to blow your own mind, okay? It helps us with trauma, helps us with business ideas, helps us with our relationships, especially the relationship we have with ourselves, and you have a totally out-of-body experience when you do that breathing technique, okay? There's also something called alternate nostril breathing. So alternate nostril breathing helps balance our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, okay? So you can look that up. I'm going to have you just Google that just for the interest of time, okay? And I want you to know that there are several different breathing techniques that you can do, or several tools, I'm sorry, that you can use to track your breathing. So one of the best tools that are out there is something called HeartMath. HeartMath is a neurofeedback tool. And what you do is you just clip this little device to your ear, and it pairs to your Android or Apple phone. It's about $150, so very affordable. And based on your heart rate variability, the tool will train you on how to breathe and the cadence to breathe at to bring yourself into a relaxed state. This tool has been transformational for some of our clients. I'll give you a simple story. I know we're wrapping up in terms of time here, but this story is so powerful. So we focus on breathing with every one of our clients because it's free, it's necessary, whether they like it or not, you've got to breathe. And it's one of the most powerful tools, as you probably learned, that's accessible to all of us. Okay. And I only really just covering the tip of the iceberg here. I could do a 4-hour presentation on breathing. I'm talking fast. I'm just for the interest of time, I'm not covering the depth of this topic and probably not even doing it the full justice that I could, but I want to share this story with you. So this is a tool and we gave it to our client, Ariane. And one of Ariane's big struggles was stress. She was struggling immensely with stress. She was a principal at a school, and that's stressful enough. But she didn't even tell us this until much later, after she started our program, that she was also struggling with her child. Her son had a lot of behavioral issues. And these behavioral issues were causing her even more stress and making her feel like a failure as a parent. So we told her, hey, listen, Ariane, we're going to put you on our metabolic program. We're going to completely reset your system. We're going to get you breathing right. We're going to get you moving right. We're going to get you eating right. We're going to get you thinking right. We're going to get you doing your environment right, getting your lighting in your home and everything right. And that's what we did. And it, physically transformed her. She lost 25 pounds in 6 weeks. But the biggest accomplishment that she had was this: by doing the daily breathing exercises for only 5 minutes and shifting her heart into a state of coherence, which is the pattern that you see here, she felt more relaxed. She felt more centered. But here's what happened after 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, her boyfriend came up to her and said, hey, did you start your son on medication? Because that's what the school had recommended for him. And she said, no, why? And he's like, his behavior has completely changed. He's totally transformed. He's like a whole different human being. He's not acting up. He's not misbehaving anymore. He's more calm. He's more focused. And what she realized, it was when she changed her breathing, she changed her heart's coherence. And because she changed her heart's coherence, that energy, that magnetic field that our heart produces, changed the environment around her. So many of you might know this, that your heart is an electromagnetic pump. It creates a field around you. It doesn't just pump blood through your body, it creates a field around you. And the people in our lives that are most affected by the field that our heart is generating is the people that we're closest to in proximity. We are quantumly entangled, especially with our children, right? They were basically born from us, right? They're created by us if you're a mom. And so our inner stress will translate into a different field that we create around us. And the way she did that wasn't by reading motivation books, wasn't about watching motivational videos. It was by changing how she was breathing to shift her body into a physiological state that was producing a signal of relaxation and safety, so her child was not feeling stressed and wired. Okay, so this is important for us to know, is that when we change how we breathe, changes our heart field, it changes us, but it also, very importantly, changes those around us. Another great tool is something called the Aura Ring. This is something I wear all the time. It tracks my respiratory rate, tracks my heart rate, tracks my HRV, it tracks my sleep. So I can use this as a tool to see if what I'm doing is working. And I look at my respiratory rate every night just to make sure nothing funky is happening with it. I also use something called Breathe Right strips. Okay, so these Breathe Right strips, you can get them on Amazon, or most pharmacies will sell them. And what this does is it naturally opens up the air passages. So at night, I have a cool look. I have a Breathe Right strip on, and I have mouth tape over my mouth. Okay, so not necessarily the most attractive of things, but it's nighttime. Who cares? Okay. The other thing I want to invite you to look into, if you're wondering what your nitric oxide levels are, you can actually get test strips. And these test strips are really simple. You take a test strip and you just put it in your mouth like this. And you can then check it against this little tester here, this little thing over here, and it'll tell you what your nitric oxide levels are. So it looks like my nitric oxide levels are right in the target zone. Okay, it's probably all that buzz breath I was doing earlier. So within seconds, you can see if you're making adequate amounts of nitric oxide, and then you could do some buzz breathing, and then you can see if those levels go up or not. If your nitric oxide levels are low, your blood pressure will be high. You won't be getting blood flow to the periphery of your brain. Your hands and feet will probably feel cold, and you will not be killing off the viruses and bacteria that we all inhale with every single breath that we take. All right, so for additional resources and tools, there's a great book that my friend James Nestor wrote. Powerful reading in here. He goes a little bit deeper into some of the things that we talked about. And I would highly recommend that this book is on your shelf. The audiobook is also great. He's a great storyteller. He's a journalist who's also a free diver. And then he started learning about all these amazing breathing techniques and started researching breath and the implications of it. And it was I think it was voted best book in 2020. So if you haven't read this book, I highly encourage that you do. And with that being said, I'll close off and see if there's any questions that you might have. Robbie, Patricia, I'll let you moderate, and we'll wrap things up there. So thank you all for listening and tuning in. I hope that this created value for you and helps you breathe even just a little bit better, because I know the impact, and now you know the impact that that's going to have on your health. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Sachin. Yeah, so let's start with VIPs. Do any of our VIPs have questions? So our VIPs have exclusive access first to questions with our experts. Any VIPs have questions? Give you about 15 seconds or so to raise your hand, and then we'll go on to other valued audience members. Yes, Diane, go ahead, please.
The ring that you're wearing, that device, and maybe was that posted in the chat? Because that's interesting. You know, I wear a Fitbit that does heart rate variability, et cetera, et cetera. I've often been concerned about, like, does that affect me wearing that? And is too much exposures to too many devices? So of interest is the ring, and is that why you wear it versus just like a watch or something else?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Amazing question. And you're really thinking a couple steps ahead. So this ring actually has an airplane mode on it. So I can turn off the Bluetooth connectivity. And then in the morning when I put it on the charger, it holds a charge for about a week, but to reactivate it, you can put it on the charger, sync it up with your phone, get the data, and then put it back on airplane mode. And so you can turn the Bluetooth off.
Okay. Oh, that's amazing.
And I posted the link in the chat. It's auraring.com. So you can check out their device there.
And then we had it's just pretty common question. We had a question about getting more circulation and oxygenation, blood flow to the hands and feet. And so my recommendation, Sachin, I'm gonna let you answer as well, but Chuck asked about that, and I told him box breathing, because of course breathing in through your nose, holding your breath, we're getting the benefit of both nitric oxide increase and carbon dioxide. And remember, just like Dr. Sachin said, the carbon dioxide will actually stimulate greater oxygenation into the cells, and the nitric oxide will increase the blood vessels. So it's working as a vasodilator, of course, affecting the extremities the greatest. Anything you'd want to add to that, Sachin? Yeah,
I mean, that's perfect. So a little tip, a little clinical pearl. So after doing all this buzz breathing and stuff, my hands are actually they're sweating right now. And when I started this conversation, they were cold. Okay. So by doing the correct breathing techniques, we can increase nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide dilates our blood vessels. The smallest blood vessels in our body are in our fingertips, in our toes, in our nose, the tip of our nose. So if the tip of your nose is cold, okay, cold nose, cold brain. The hardest place to get blood flow to is the neocortex, because to get blood up here, your heart has to work against gravity. We don't want your heart working against gravity and undilated blood vessels. Another, for men, and really for men and women, another area where nitric oxide is important is for our genital health. Okay, so what Viagra does is increase nitric oxide. That's how it works. It just does it through a drug mechanism. Another thing you can use is beetroot powder. Beetroot powder has the precursors to increase nitric oxide. So you can add that to a pre-workout. So the mornings you're working out with Robbie and Patricia, just drink some beetroot powder, and that'll increase nitric oxide production. Okay, so cold nose, cold brain. Just remember that if your nose is feeling cold, your brain is not getting enough oxygen. So doing the buzz breathing, breathing through your nose, those are things that are going to start to help. That's another reason when people start breathing through their nose at night, they start dreaming again. So if you haven't had a dream in a long time, it could be because you're not breathing through your nose at night.
Sachin, one of our VIPs has a question about masks, right? And so depending on where you live in the world, we kind of live in the Wild West, so we're not too restricted here. But other places like Paris, like Canada, is much more. And so, any special suggestions? Let me go back and read Randa's question really quickly. Let's see here.
Yeah, I think the question was any tips for breathing, wearing a mask for hours during any exertion, especially. Yeah, you want to breathe through your nose. That's the best tip I can offer you. Breathing through your mouth turns that mask into a diaper. There's no other way to put it. Your mouth is the dirtiest part of your body.
Yeah.
So, you want to breathe through your nose as much as you can. And I know that's hard for people sometimes. If you're exerting yourself, you should not be exerting yourself more than you can breathe through your nose. So the moment you can't breathe through your nose anymore, you're overexerting yourself. So you might have to back off on what you're doing.
Any other questions from our audience members? Would anybody like to ask a question? You can simply, if you go into reactions, bottom of your screen, click reactions, and then click raise hand. If anyone else would like to ask a question live, we'll also read the chat here before we close out today's meeting.
Another question, how about at the gym, breathing out? Yeah, I mean, as much as possible, you want to breathe through your nose. At first, it's going to feel a little funky and a little bit weird, especially if you're a habitual mouth breather. If you have to wear a mask, like if you have to breathe out through your mouth, that's not the end of the world. Okay, so it's okay. But if you're wearing a mask and you're constantly breathing out through your mouth, all that bacteria is just accumulating on your mask. And the other thing you have to keep in mind is the way our face is designed, it's designed to blow air away from our face, right? So if you look at our nose blows air down and away from our face. Our mouth blows air away from us because it's toxic, right? You would never design a car that redirects the air of the exhaust into the cabin, right? And that's what happens, right? When you're breathing into your mask through your face, it's like you're not inhaling clean, fresh air. You're re-inhaling all that bacteria that's accumulating on the mask. Another thing that happens when people wear masks is the air basically, it stops here and it gets, like water, air finds the path of least resistance. So the air then is shooting up into our face, into our eyes, back against our skin. Right? It's why people develop skin rashes and acne or eye styes or eye infections, because that bacteria is just coming back to our face where it doesn't belong. Chris is asking, is the HeartMath tool close to doing it is biofeedback. So it's a neurofeedback tool. And without getting too deep into this, if you want to talk to your heart, the HeartMath is a way to do that. So anytime I'm making an important decision, I get into a state of coherence, and then I start asking yes and no questions. And my heart rate variability will start changing in accordance to what my heart knows is right and wrong. So you can actually use it as a tool to tap into your intuition. It's pretty cool. I mean, that's more advanced technique, but yeah, it's a powerful neurofeedback tool.
An interesting point that you mentioned, Sachin, about when you can't breathe through your nose, right? Or it becomes very difficult. So let's break that down a little bit further. If fitness is something, if exerting yourself physically is something that's very new to you, you're not used to really having metabolic stress from any type of exercise, you're going to find that not being able to breathe through your nose happens earlier and much easier to you than as you build up what we call fitness adaptation or training effect. So for all of our VIPs, you have something called, and if you'd like to be a VIP, you could have this also, an optimal physiological dosage of exercise. And in that, we give you your specific intensities, including your high performance energy zone. So if you're very, very fit, very adapted to exercise, that can go to a significant percentage of exertion on like a 0 to 100% exertion scale, right? So, but if you're not at that point, it's going to be less. So for example, Randa, your question about, is that true for workouts too without a mat? Yes, but we give you that for your high percentage zone. So you should be able to stay breathing through your nose at your high percentage zone. So it is in fact matched to your unique physiology and fitness level as well.
Another question that came up, might be relevant to some people as well, is only the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. To put 3/4 of the tongue on the roof of the mouth for me is stressful and not relaxing. So you're just gently putting your tongue there. If it doesn't feel relaxed, just make sure your mouth is closed. It's a mudra. So that's an energy circuit that you're closing when you put your tongue in that position. But, some people may have a very small upper palate. So it might be a little uncomfortable for them to put their tongue there. Interesting fact, we didn't really talk about this, but babies who suck their thumb or babies who use pacifiers create a very narrow jaw. And instead of having a nice and flat upper palate, their upper palate looks like this. And guess what? That's taking volume away from their sinuses. So if you have a very high arching upper palate, it might feel weird to put your tongue so high in your mouth. And so maybe that could be part of the reason why some people it's uncomfortable for. But, do what feels comfortable. The idea, like, you're not in front of me, so it's hard for me to see your jaw structure and, the shape of your palate and stuff like that. Do what feels comfortable. What I'm suggesting today is based on, kind of ideal assumptions, right? We're assuming that there aren't any major structural issues going on with you, or sometimes people have trauma surrounding these things. Like some people, the idea of just putting a small piece of tape on their mouth induces trauma. Maybe there's something in their past, in their childhood or growing up that happened to them. So, I'm not trying to, activate any old traumas or old injuries or anything like that. But this is based on the anatomy and physiology more than anything else.
Joanne, you have a question? Hello, Joanne. I see you have your hand raised. Would you like to ask a question?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I didn't know how many Joannes were on. My question was just how much time should we be spending every day doing the breathing exercises? What's the sweet spot for that?
Well, the way I look at it is you're breathing all day. So the awareness around breathing should be consistent throughout the day. So the reason I say that is because I don't want somebody breathing 10 minutes, and then the rest of the day, they're not paying attention to their oral position. They're not paying attention to whether they're breathing through their mouth or their nose. They're not taping their mouth shut at night. So for me, my breath work is 24/7. I am in constant awareness of my breath because it shifts and alters how I feel and how I want to feel. If you are going to do guided breath work, like the buzz breath and things like that, then about 10 minutes each day is usually pretty adequate. So there's a variety of different ways I incorporate breathing into my day. So when I'm exercising, I'm paying attention to my breathing. When I'm taking a cold shower, I'm slowing down my breath while I'm taking a cold shower because that helps me build resilience into my nervous system. When I'm breathing, I'm making sure I have my nose strips on and my mouth taped at night. And the other thing that I do is I'll do, strategic breath work like buzz breath. So when I'm driving my son to school, I'll be humming or chanting, right, to try to improve my breathing. So there's a variety of different ways that I incorporate it throughout my day and raise awareness around it. But if you can dedicate 5 to 10 minutes in the morning when you first get up, 5 to 10 minutes in the evening, doing some of the specific techniques that we talked about, then that's going to be really helpful for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sachin. Yeah. And if the breathing techniques, if any of these things produce any level of angst or anxiety when you start doing it, you're affecting your breathing. You're affecting something that affects your health, like Sachin talked about in the very beginning, within a matter of seconds and or minutes, right? So when you're not used to that, when your carbon dioxide raises, if you're not a person that's used to these changes, it can stimulate those effects. So then you want to go a little bit deeper with the psychology, see what kind of traumas come up. I mean, things can lead to all kinds of deeper stuff that you can work on. But the most important thing is, yes, you want to get yourself into these breathing techniques that Sachin has shared with you, but there might be different ways based on differences in humans, so that you feel very comfortable with those. And oftentimes is you might have to go into a much more relaxed state, use some meditation or some music that really relaxes you, and then work with these breathing techniques.
Yeah, another thing that I do, so that question came up, what's that device that clips to your ear? It's called HeartMath. I posted the link, or I'll post it for everyone here. It's heartmath.com. About 25 years of research that's been done on HeartMath by the HeartMath Institute. Powerful stuff, and just a great device, very affordable and accessible. Another breathing technique that I'll use that has been helpful for me is increasing CO2 tolerance. So our need to breathe, that feeling that I need to take a breath, actually has nothing to do with oxygen. However, it has to do with our inability to it's our response to CO2 levels rising. And so one way we can increase our resilience and resistance to that urge to breathe is by increasing our CO2 tolerance. So when I go for a walk, what I'll do is I'll take a deep breath in through my nose. I'll let it all the way out, all the way out, all the way out. And I'll try to walk as much as I can with empty lungs. And what happens is the CO2 starts flooding into your lungs. And after I can take about 25 to 30 steps. That's pretty hard. So it sounds easy, but it's actually really hard. And then I have this urge to breathe. But you build that up over time. It's called your BOLT score. And it's called a blood oxygen level test. And what it basically does is it increases your resistance to CO2. And the higher tolerance we have to CO2, the better, the deeper the breaths we can take.
We have time for just one more question. I see Ty, and hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. Ty, I see you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had to unmute there. Yes, can you elaborate a little bit more on which breath technique you have to use for lowering your blood pressure?
Sure. So the box breathing is something that you can do where you're breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, exhaling for 4 seconds, and then holding for 4 seconds, and then repeating that. So just think of a box. Okay. You can do 6-second box breathing. That's a little bit more advanced, of course, because the longer you exhale, the lower your blood pressure will get. The other thing that you can do to lower blood pressure is buzz breathing. So that's where you take that deep inhale through the nose, tongue is positioned at the roof of the mouth, and then you're slowly letting the air out as you're vibrating your face. That's going to increase nitric oxide. When we increase nitric oxide, our blood vessels start to dilate. Okay. Now, if you want to take it up a notch, depending on where you live, expose your skin to the sun, and that will increase nitric oxide production. And it increases a process on the inside of our blood vessels called sulfation. So this is a little bit more advanced, but there's actually 4 stages of water. In school, we learned there were 3 phases of water: gas, liquid, and solid. But there's actually a 4th phase of water, which is like a gel phase. When we expose our skin to the sun, the inside of our blood vessels go through a process called sulfation. And it literally creates a negative charge. And that negative charge, as the blood is flowing through, is positive. It creates a battery. So part of the reason that many people have high blood pressure is because they don't have adequate amounts of sulfation taking place. So there's more resistance for the blood to go through. So if we learn how to breathe correctly, increase nitric oxide, we dilate the blood vessels. And then when we get exposure to sunlight, it will drive the blood through without any resistance. So this idea that the heart is a pump that's pumping blood through all these blood vessels, actually physically, the physics of it is impossible. The physics make no sense. If you study this through the traditional model of physics, it is impossible for this tiny little heart to pump through hundreds of thousands of miles of arteries. The reason we're able to do that is because of this easy zone that's created by the negative charge. And that happens, it amplifies when we're exposed to sunlight. So if you do some of these exercises in the sun, you're going to see a radical difference. And it's maybe I'm assuming you're African American, it's hard to tell from the camera, but if you think about somebody who's of a darker skin tone like myself, I'm not from Canada. I'm born here, but my ancestral DNA is to be in a hot, tropical, equatorial country where I would be in the sun all the time. And now I'm in Canada, and you're lucky if you get half an hour out in the sun and only your face is exposed, right? So we're not even getting that skin on our sun. And what have we done? We've made people so deathly afraid of the sun. And what have we seen? We've seen people's blood pressure go through the roof. And then we give them a medication, right? So we give them a medication that does nothing to help us breathe better and does nothing to increase sulfation. And this is why people end up on multiple blood pressure medications, because the mechanism is not being addressed.
Beautiful.
So within minutes, you can lower your blood pressure. Check with your doctor. I have to say that. So check with your doctor first. But if you were my client, like, blood pressure would be a non-issue.
Now, how long does that normally last if you do any one of those techniques? Does that last throughout the day, the lower blood pressure effect?
It depends. It depends on other factors that are going on, right? So you'll see an immediate improvement, of course, but you want to be consistent. So, we were built to be outside all day. And so that's a stark contrast to how most of us spend our days, right? We're indoors under artificial light, typically LED lighting that has way too much blue light in it, that increases our cortisol production. So just the color temperature of the light bulbs in your home can raise your blood pressure. So there's a multitude of factors that we need to pay attention to that can contribute to hormonal imbalances in your body that will drive up blood pressure. Blood pressure is the first domino to fall. And it's something that's so easily measured that it's usually measured at your doctor's appointment, but it's also one of the easiest things to correct, but we have to correct all the factors that are contributing to it, right? Not just breathing, right? So if stress is an issue, we got to address that. If lighting in the home is an issue, we have to address that. If natural sunlight exposure is an issue, we have to address that. If weight is an issue, we have to address that. So the body's not making a mistake. We may not be giving it what it needs to function optimally. Beautiful. But if we just lower your blood pressure without changing those things are affecting other parts of you as well.
Got it.
So
thanks for the extension.
Sachin, if Ty and or others would like to go deeper with you, where's the best place to contact you?
Well, I'm going to give my email address. So I'll just put it in the chat. You can always email me, and I'm pretty responsive to your questions. And Sachin at Become Proof, I check every email and I respond to every single one as well. And if you're interested in learning more about our clinic and what we do, you can go to becomeproof.com. And I'm also going to put another link to a free 30-day program that we have. It's called 30and30.org, where I share 30 of my best tips. If you are coming to me as a client or a patient, I would want you to know these things so that you can have a head start when it comes to your health. So my mission is to keep people out of my office by teaching them things like this and then giving them free tools and strategies to help themselves. But, I'm always here to help. My team is always here to help should we want to go deeper. And we help people with all kinds of issues, metabolic issues, reversing diabetes, getting their blood pressure normalized, improving their sleep, so many different things. We help you optimize your health. We don't focus on the diagnosis. We focus on what do you need to function as a whole healthy human. And that automatically gets rid of all the dysfunction.
Thank you so much, Sachin. You know, I always love conversations with you. It's always, you know, coming from my background and connecting with yours, we always have amazing conversations. And it's so true. There's these things that you've learned, that all of you have learned about today, that just make all of the difference in the world. And it's not what most people think of. And oftentimes it's not what most people are doing. So, and, you know, I can give you my own personal testament of how amazingly well everything that Sachin teaches works. So he's an amazing individual, and I've learned a lot from him as well. So you know, if you want to go further with him, there's the contact information. He's again a very good friend of mine, and I love these conversations with him. So much gratitude and love for you, Sachin.
Thank you, my friends, and thank you all. It's great to meet some of you, and thanks for the questions. I see an old friend of mine, Colleen, here. Hey, Colleen, nice to see you.
Oh, awesome.
Small world. I love it. So have a fantastic day. Happy breathing.
Colleen,
of course, she's always VIP.
Platinum. Yeah.
I don't expect anything less. Whatever the highest level is, that's what Colleen, that's the highest level Colleen's going to be. And I already know that. Good to see you here. Awesome. So happy breathing, everyone. And like I said, I'm just an email away. Robbie, I'll share some advanced trainings that I've done. Like the psychedelic breath work and the out-of-body experience breath work. People can tune into that, listen in with their headphones, follow the guided meditation, and it will blow your mind. No pun intended.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Sachin. And remember, February 12th, the full body fix. It starts on Saturday, February 12th. Patricia will drop that link in the chat again. If you're not already registered for the full body fix, you want to do that. It is an amazing event, and it goes through the mechanics of your body, talks about all the tissue connections and your mobility, and because your ability to move, that's really where all these things start, right? Your ability to move, your ability to breathe properly, that's where these things start. So when you optimize your mechanics and the way you work the mechanics of your body, you will optimize your physiology. And then, of course, that's your health in your life and how you feel. So we go through an amazing process together in the full body fix starting February 12th. We invite you to join us there. And next week's show will be a very interesting show. We'll be having some of our VIPs share specific breakthroughs they've had and how we've helped them to achieve that. So you can learn even more personal insights, exact how to in daily life, apply it, all these things that we bring you in the full body fix coaching show to optimize your life. So much love to each of you. Make it an awesome weekend, and we will see you soon. And we'll leave the meeting on. So any links that are in the chat that you want to go back and reference, we'll leave the meeting on for at least another 20 minutes. So if you want to reference links, you can do that. But bye for now. Make it a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Sachin.